why would we put an undue burden on businesses that, I mean, they have drivers, they contract with drivers to transport their product from some parts of the nation to the other. This seems to put an undue burden on business, since they wouldn't be able to go through. I mean, I'm proud to say that the crossroads of Oklahoma is here in our state. Why would we be willing to put that undue burden on them?
Well, I don't think it's an undue burden. I think it's a due burden to do business the right way with qualified and safe drivers.
So this clip that you just saw, Representative Wilk. Shout out to Representative Wilk for being a part of this SB 20. I think it's a really a big thing for Oklahoma. It's a big thing for the safety of the roads, and I just think it's just huge. And hey, I'll play that whole clip, okay, at the end of this video. But I thought that right there, that clip right there, was a really bold statement to Representative Sandoval, where he goes and says, you know, why don't drivers just go around, and will it hurt the businesses in Oklahoma? And he stood his ground. He was like, hey, you know, safety's more important. Yes, I'm not quoting. You guys heard the quote. I'll play the whole thing later. But shout out to Wilk for doing the right thing, in my opinion. So in this video, I'll play that whole clip after this. In this video, I wanted to talk about the differences between the Arkansas Trucking Association and the Oklahoma Trucking Association. So when you look at the Arkansas Trucking Association, you see some big names in this. Maverick Transportation, ABF, Wayne Smith, okay, it's a medium-sized company, but JB Hunt, huge. FedEx, okay, Walmart Transportation. These guys, DB Schenker, Star Transportation, Tyson Foods. There's a big three that I call in Arkansas, and that's Tyson, JB Hunt, and Walmart. And a lot of these other ones, and Maverick, I would say Maverick too. I would say 4, even though Maverick's more, you know, I would say a medium base. They're still pretty large, but flatbed's a little different, in my view at least. But you look at this, and these three, Tyson, JB Hunt, and Walmart, and look how big those companies are. Okay, and that's Arkansas Trucking Association. And I do believe that those companies played a major role in the reason why House Bill 1569 failed in Arkansas. Is because of the lobbyist special interest and basically the big mega carriers, mega companies that would promote money over safety. We push for safety here, right? Because I believe if you're quality, you got quality drivers, you have safe, and then the money will come, right? You'll have safe roads, the money comes, right? But I believe that these guys in Arkansas, not all of them, but the big mega carriers, they had a big part in getting 1569 shut down over there. And it's a shame that they'd rather focus on money than safety. But I have faith. Look at the contrast here in Oklahoma. I have faith in the Oklahoma Trucking Association because you have companies like Melton. I don't even think Melton is the same size as Maverick. Okay, even though they're both flatbed companies, but I mean, and then you have Fry Miller. And here's the thing with these two companies, I know people that are that are working this, right? And they assure me that Melton and Fry Miller, they're on board. Like they are, that they're for the safety of trucking industry, safety of the roads. And let's just face it, Fry Miller, Melton, they're no Walmart, they're no JB Hunt, they're no Tyson Foods, and you see Lou Gregg, which is an oil field company. I have so much more faith in the Oklahoma Trucking Association to get behind SB 20 in Oklahoma. I just do. Hopefully they will be on board and backing this. That'd be a great thing. Again, Oklahoma, Okies rock. Let me just say, I'm not just kissing you guys, but I've firmly said this on my channel for a decade and a half that I've been on YouTube. That I am an honorary Okie. I'm born and raised Texas, but raised part of my life in Oklahoma, and went to school there in elementary school. Spent every summer there until I graduated high school. Worked on the farms in Southwest Oklahoma. Was saved at Falls Creek. Born again Christian at Falls Creek. It's a Christian youth camp in the Arbuckles. Okay. Roots there in Southwest Oklahoma, roots in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, and I still work there. I go there almost once a month. Okay, I work with TRC Truck and Trailer, or Truck Repair Center. Sorry, Truck Repair Center out of Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, right there, and I retransport. Our terminal is based out of Oklahoma City, right? I work with both those companies, and I'm there all the time. And when I do, I stop at Brahms and get me some ice cream, take home. Yes, I do. I carry a freezer in my pickup truck. I'm just saying. So Oklahoma is a special place for me personally. Obviously, I'm Texas, true and true. But Oklahoma's just got, a special place, right? Learn how to storm chase with Gary England back in the day. Okay, enough kissing butt here. I'm just sitting there saying, I have a lot of faith in the Oklahomans. I just do, in getting this passed. It means the world to the safety more than you guys know. And so I encourage the lawmakers there in Oklahoma, if they stumble upon this video, stumble upon my words, this is that put safety over anything else. Safety of Oklahomans, because you have a lot of truck drivers, a lot of trucks going through Oklahoma on I-40. All right, and a lot of them don't speak English. I'm just here to tell you, and they are one of the reasons why you have such a high fatality rate amongst commercial drivers, commercial vehicles. Okay, so put whatever it is that's holding you back. Think about the safety of the roads in Oklahoma. That's all I ask. So anyways, if you guys are interested in watching this whole thing that I recorded yesterday, here it is. I will be covering this as this passes. I believe SB 20 will pass. And again, thanks to Representative Wilk and Senator Guthrie. Okay, shout out to those guys for doing the business. Okay, we'll holler at you guys next time. Enjoy this clip if you want to watch it.
I'll recognize you, Representative Wilk, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, the amendment came about after discussion with some of the members of our caucus in regards to the definition for proof of citizenship shall be shown by presentation of a birth certificate, naturalization certificate, or valid passport. He just thought it was important to define that a little bit clearer. And then the second amendment is moving the funds, instead of going to the Service Oklahoma Fund, it'll go to the Way Station Improvement Revolving Fund, which is typical of where the fines go for commercial motor vehicles today. It's just uniformity across the board. And then there's two other amendments that it was more of a grammatical error. The word shall needed to be inserted in two different places.
Thank you for explaining the amendment. Will there be any questions on the amendment? Representative Alonzo Sandoval, you're recognized for a question on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative, I do appreciate that you've been very open and regarding the process and how this came up in a very last-minute way. Could you explain a bit about what the original bill was? It does seem like it is a very, very drastic change from what the original bill was and what it currently is with this amendment.
Thank you for the question. No, I don't mind explaining it. Mr. Chair, are we talking about the PCS at this point or the amendment to the PCS?
The amendment to the PCS. We have adopted the PCS, so we will get to the actual bill here in a second. But I'm assuming, is the question on the amendment, or would you like to lay over until we? Okay, thank you. Representative Blanchette, would you like to ask the question on the amendment or wait till the bill itself? Thank you so much. Without any objection, we will adopt the amendment. Now we're back on the bill, PCS included, with the amended as amended. So now, Representative Alonso Sandoval, you're recognized for a question on. Please hold. Would you like to further explain the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I've talked to all the committee members, I believe, but I'll go ahead and briefly run over it. Basically, this is a public safety bill. It's to ensure that Oklahoma standards are being met by other states before they allow their truck drivers to come into our state to make sure that they meet our qualifications and standards as well.
Thank you for that explanation. Representative Alonso Sandoval, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And going back to what I was mentioning earlier, since this is a very drastic change to what the original bill was and what it currently is with the amendment, could you kind of explain what the original bill language was?
Thank you for the question. Yes. The original bill language, I believe, had to do with ATVs and UTVs and how their legalities on the streets related more specifically to speed limits.
For a follow-up.
Yeah. And while I appreciate the approach for public safety, given that, I mean, when it comes to big legislation like this, it includes new laws as well as amendments. I think for us to really make sure that we don't include any unintended consequences, it's just important to really make sure we give it more time to vet. I would like to invoke Rule 7.6D. Amendments must be germane to the subject. To me, this seems like it's a very drastic change from the original bill and the original intent of what SB 20 was.
The chair appreciates and well receives the request. However, the chair does, based on it being a Senate bill, find that the germaneness rule is not necessary for this because it is a Senate bill. Thank you. You're recognized for a question on the bill.
Just for clarification, would the rule not still apply to Senate bills?
Thank you for the question. It does not apply to Senate bills. The chair also finds it to be germane in this situation if necessary. Thank you. Following question, Representative Blanchette, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, the way I read this, it says, and I'm looking at, and this is the PCS, page 7, on line 5, a non-domiciled commercial driver license or non-domiciled commercial learner's permit, meaning you aren't a resident of the state of Oklahoma, issued by any other state shall not be considered valid authorization to operate a commercial. So are we saying in this bill that if you don't have an Oklahoma commercial license, you cannot drive through Oklahoma highways? What am I missing? Because I know that can't be true.
Thank you for the question. No, ma'am, you're mistaken. This does not prohibit licensed drivers from other states from coming through the state of Oklahoma.
For a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So explain the language then and what it actually does, because I'm confused.
Okay, so thank you for the question.
Where you're at.
Non-domiciled is defined in 49 CFR section 383.5, And what it explains there is there's two different types of non-domiciled drivers. And so you could essentially be a non-domiciled driver. In other words, you live in a state other than the one you got your license in. So you can go get a license in a different state than you live or country.
Representative Banning, you're recognized for he waves. Representative Minge, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, I just wanted to echo my colleagues' sentiments and thanking you for your transparency throughout the process and everything. So I looked into it a little bit more after we spoke on the floor yesterday and was wondering if, to your knowledge, this has been a successful endeavor in other neighboring states.
Thank you for the question. My understanding is yes, it has been successfully passed, a variation of it in Arkansas, and it's my understanding that this is being pursued in other states. We seem to be at kind of the crossroads of America, so to speak, in the transportation industry, and so they felt it was important to try to come to Oklahoma and get this established.
For a follow-up? No? Representative Alonzo Sandoval, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I don't know a whole lot about CDLs, but given that it deals with interstate travel, is there federal regulations when it comes to CDL licenses and how they're administered when it comes to like minimum standards that people have to follow?
Thank you for the question. Yes, there currently is under the reciprocity agreements through the national standards. However, they have allowed deviations from that in the recent years, and it's created the problem we're trying to address here today, which is curtailing some of the non-domiciled drivers in that a lot of them are coming through maybe not trained to the standards that they were before.
For a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So according to, I guess, what data have we seen higher rates of so there's been issues when it comes to more wrecks, or I guess, could you explain what those incidents have been and what data is showing that there's been higher rates? And if you could also explain, I just many questions in one, what change happened that changed the standards?
Yeah, so the graphs and charts that I've been shown show an increase since the rule was amended at the federal level to allow states to waive some of the testing requirements, and it has increased traffic fatalities. In that, I will note that Oklahoma currently ranks about sixth, fifth, depending on what chart you look at in the nation for traffic fatalities from commercial motor vehicles.
For another follow-up.
Yeah. That ranking doesn't surprise me a whole lot. I mean, we are the crossroads of the nation when it comes to trucking, so to me it makes sense that we would have potentially higher rates, and I think we go about it in a fairly safe way for the most part. Like I said, I do appreciate approaching it to really increase public safety, but to me it seems like the federal government already has regulations over CDLs. So I guess with this bill, like what is the additional intent to prevent certain drivers from going through Oklahoma?
Yeah, so the intent in preventing certain drivers from going through Oklahoma is to, be honest with you, just keep our families safe and save lives. When there's been a drastic rise in the deaths related to non-domiciled drivers since this has came to fruition, and that's what it's attempting to address.
Representative Sneed, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Member, the way I understand this bill is that really the intent, would you agree, is that if somebody cannot read English, that you are actually protecting those people and everybody else in the state of Oklahoma?
Thank you for the question. Yes, Representative, I would agree that we're protecting all the people that travel the road, whether they're English speaking or non-English speaking, by passing this.
Representative Minge, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate that intent for sure. It's always a good idea to keep our roads as safe as we possibly can. However, would you believe that the Arkansas House Bill 1569 that we were speaking about earlier was actually withdrawn from the House author there on the 7th of this month because there were some constitutionality questions?
I don't have any reason to doubt you, so you asked if I believe you. Yes, I believe you. I don't know the particulars of that specific bill, and I don't know what variation was deemed unconstitutional or they felt was unconstitutional at this point. All I know is this was what was presented to me, and I'd like to move forward with it.
Recognized for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so due to that fact and the fact that we just got this new language and, you had to chase us all down on the floor to one-on-one with us, do you think it might merit a little further consideration and a little bit more time?
I don't know when it'll be heard on the floor if it passes this committee. Obviously, I would want full transparency in every bill to be vetted as much as it can. With the time crunch we're on and being that it was a request bill and it came from the Senate, I don't feel like I have the authority to do that.
Representative Alonzo Sandoval, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, when you were given this language for the bill, did you engage in any conversations with in-state trucking associations? I know an Arkansas-based trucking association has been pushing this. But have you had conversations with Oklahoma-based ones?
Thank you for the question. No, I have not talked to any Oklahoma-based trucking associations. I have talked to Oklahoma-based trucking industries. It was I actually got a request for a similar bill from my district back in about January, February, and I said, I'm a freshman, and I thought we were past the deadline, didn't know how we could get anything in at that point. So, yes, this has been talked about from within the trucking industry in the state of Oklahoma.
Recognized for a follow-up.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you haven't talked to an officially recognized Oklahoma-based trucking association?
Thanks for the question. No, I have not.
For a follow-up.
So I guess, would you agree that we just need to give it a little bit more time to make sure that there isn't unintended consequences when it comes to a piece of legislation like this? And I bring that up because it's a drastic change from its original intent to what it is now. And I don't think we've really given it the time to vet the bill in a way that can really be effective and make sure we're doing the best thing for Oklahoma.
Thank you for the question. I would appreciate working with you throughout this process. It's going to have to go back to the Senate. It's going to have to, one, be heard on our floor if it passes this committee. And I don't know when we could get it heard. I'd be willing to work with you and fine tune it, so to speak, with obviously the senator's support in this process. But again, I just don't feel comfortable laying over a bill that didn't originate with me per se.
Representative, from the chair, did I hear you clarify that you did have such a request from business owners, truck drivers who own trucking companies from your district, Oklahomans, that is?
Thank you for the question. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did.
Thank you. Representative Sneed, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Remember, we heard a question just a little bit ago, something about dealing with the federal government. Would you agree that even though the federal government does make regulations at times, that this really is a states' rights issue, and that by you running this, again, you are protecting Oklahomans, and your intent is to do that very thing, protect Oklahomans?
Thank you for the question. Yes, sir, that is exactly my intent, is to protect Oklahomans. I think that's who we represent, not maybe out-of-state, non-domiciled truckers. I think that's who we need to be protecting.
Members, I am going to go ahead and close the queue at this time. If you would like to get into the queue, you're more than welcome to get into the queue while I allow a follow-up for Chairman Sneed, if he would still like. Anyone else wanting to get into the queue? I have the two of you. Anyone else wanting to get into the queue? Plenty of time. Okay, thank you. Queue is now closed. Representative Minge, you're recognized for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, thank you for taking our questions. You understand that we're asking questions to make a stronger bill, not because we have a problem protecting Oklahomans, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Follow up? Thank you. And so, setting
That
emotions
was a
aside-
crafty question, Representative, but I will accept it as not a follow-up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so, back on the issue, your name's on the bill, and I think I remember what it was like being a freshman, even though I had a big head start. You should still feel empowered to want to work on it more if you want to, because, like I said, your name's on it. It's something that your name is on, and the people of your district, their name is on it through that. So, would you be willing to, no pun intended, park it, maybe, here in this lovely committee, which I think everyone can see is affable and collaborative, to be able to, most everyone, to be able to work on the language? Would you be able to park it maybe until next year?
Thank you for the question. No, ma'am. I'm gonna continue if it moves forward today. I will continue to try to address your concerns throughout the process.
Thank you for the very long question. Representative Alonzo Sandoval, you're recognized for hopefully not as long a question. Thank you.
I don't plan on it, but I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
With this bill, is there anything preventing a driver from just going around the state of Oklahoma, so they're going through Kansas, going through Texas to reach their destination? Say if they're originating from Florida, they end up in California. Is anything in this bill stopping them from doing that?
No, this bill, we only have the authority within our state boundaries.
For a follow-up.
So why would we put an undue burden on businesses that, I mean, they have drivers, they contract with drivers to transport their product from some parts of the nation to the other. This seems to put an undue burden on business, since they wouldn't be able to go through. I mean, I'm proud to say that the crossroads of Oklahoma is here in our state. Why would we be willing to put that undue burden on them?
Well, I don't think it's an undue burden. I think it's a due burden to do business the right way with qualified and safe drivers. Thank you for the question.
For one more follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when it comes to non-domicile drivers, why do we have non-domicile drivers? And why is that the approach that we have in?
Well, these are drivers that have sought a license in a state or a country other than their resident state or country. That's why we have non-domicile drivers.
All right. Do I have a motion? Having a due pass and a second. Will there be discussion or debate? Having none, clerk, please open the queue. Adams, Hill, aye. Maynard and Mins, preparing to close. Preparing to close. Thank you. Declare the vote.
14 aye, 3 nay.
With 14 aye, 3 nay, we would declare your bill onto the floor, team. Thank you for your presentation.